Hello, Digimon Tamers! It's Connor the Wolf bringing you another deck profile video. Today's video is going to go over one of my personal favorite Digimon decks, Red WarGreymon base. And I'm really excited to talk about this one. I've been playing Red WarGreymon since the beginning of the card game. So since 2020, I started with the red structure deck and built it from there. So it's really great to have WarGreymon back in my deck. I switched over to Black WarGreymon and Guilemon for a little bit, but nothing can beat the original at times. So before we get into the video though, I would like to address our sponsors, Grinding Coffee Co. and Dubby Energy. Grinding Coffee Co. is a Black-owned and LGBT-owned coffee company that'll ship fresh coffee straight to your door. And with Dubby Energy, if coffee is not your thing, you will get a powder supplement that'll give you plenty of energy without the jitters, and it's sugar-free. You can go ahead and hit the links in the bottom of the video and use promo code PAUSESCREEN at either for 10% off your order. Helps me out. I can buy more Digimon cards and make more videos. So, let's get into the deck build. So, starting off, I have 4 BT5 Koromon. BT5 Koromon is pretty much the staple at this point for all red-based Greymon decks. Attack with a Greymon, draw a card. Don't really need to say much more about that. Up next, we have 4 copies of Agumon from BT12. Can Digivolve for free over an Koromon, but can also be played for 3 from hand. Looks at the top 4, grabs you a Greymon and a tie. Really important for this deck. Inherited gives you 1000 DP to Greymon and Omnimons. Following that, we have 3 copies of an oldie but a goodie. Agumon promo number 9. It's been in the game for a long time. Gives you 2000 DP during your turn if the Digimon is Greymon or Greymon named. Next, we have kind of a new card. Agumon BT12 Yellow Edition. This Agumon is yellow and red. Can Digivolve over Koromon for nothing, but can also Digivolve over a yellow or red in training Digimon for 1. Has a on-play effect to look at the top 4 cards of your deck to add 1 Digimon with Greymon and 1 card named Marcus and add them to your hand. We're not really doing this for the Marcus. I originally ran the Black Agumon from BT8 that grabs a Dragonkin and a Greymon, but it's really hard to Digivolve over in red base, so we're going with this one because he is red. Finally, to round out our rookies, 3 copies of Classic Agumon X Antibody. Digivolves for nothing over an Agumon. Digivolves over nothing for your in-trainings as well. Can grab both a Greymon and an X Antibody option card. So, it's really helpful. You're definitely wanting this in your hand as much as possible. Unfortunately, it is very hard to balance these types of decks. Next up, for our champions, I have 2 copies of Greymon BT12. BT12 Greymon allows you to go over a Agumon for 2, and when Digivolving, if you do not have a Tai Kamiya in play, you get to play Tai Kamiya. Doesn't matter which version of Tai, could be the 3-cost, 4-cost. As long as it is named Tai, you can play it. Then we have another classic card, Greymon from Structure Deck 1. I'm running him at 2 copies. He only has the Inherited to give the Digimon he's under security attack +1. I like this one. I just like it for that rush down hit that you can give your opponent. More damage means the game is over quicker for you. Then we also have 2 copies of EX1 Greymon. EX1 Greymon has the inherited ability that when you attack, you may play 1 tie from your hand with 3 cost or less. So, and you get to do that for free. Since we are playing lots of ties, this is a really good way to keep you consistent even after you get your first one out. Then we have 3 copies, Greymon X Antibody, Digivolves for 2 on a level 3, and for nothing over Greymon. Has a good protection effect if the Digimon is Greymon or Omnimon, and it would be deleted or sent back to your hand due to effects. You can trash 2 cards from under it of the same level to prevent that Digimon from leaving play. Then to round out champions, I have 1 copy of the limited Red-Black Greymon X Antibody. People should know at this point I do love this version. 0 to go over Greymon, 3 to go over a level 3, with the effect that this Digimon does reduce the Digi-Evolution cost of your level 5 Greymon that'll go over this by 1 memory for each color it is. So dual color Digimon get cut down by 2. It's really awesome, and this deck does play X Antibody, so we are going to talk about its inherited skill, where much like how the other Greymon X Antibody prevents deletion or removal from the field, so does this one. However, it needs to have the X Antibody option under it to do so. It puts it back to the bottom of your deck, and it'll save itself from being sent back to the hand, deck, or being deleted. So, really helpful. Now onward to our ultimates. We're playing 3 Metal Greymon BT12 with Raid, able to play a red or black Tamer from your hand anytime a attack is redirected to a new target. Does not matter how that works. It could be done through blocker, through its own raid effect. Could be another Digimon. Does not matter how it happens. As long as an attack is redirected, you get to play that Tamer. Also gives your Greymon or Omnimon piercing. So, really helpful, especially if you use raid with your WarGreymon to hit, so you're doing extra damage. Then we're playing 2 copies of Metal Greymon Alterous Mode. Metal Greymon Alterous Mode also counts as Metal Greymon. It goes over Metal Greymon for free, has the ability to delete a Digimon of 5000 DP or less if you have a Tamer, and it has the exact same effect as Greymon X Antibody Red version. You remove 2 Digimon of the same level to prevent deletion or removal from the field. So, I like it. Extra protection is always really good. Now, we're down to our last couple copies of Ultimates. We run 3 Metal Greymon X Antibody. Digivolves for free over Metal Greymon, and this is really important. Alterous Mode counts as Metal Greymon, so it can go over Alterous or Classic. When it does Digivolve, it gains Security Attack +1, and if it goes over a Metal Greymon, or if you have X Antibody in your stack, it gains an additional 3000 DP until the end of your opponent's turn. Really good. I love this card. Now, we're going to get to the star of the deck. I run 2 WarGreymons with Raid. WarGreymon can Digivolve for 4 over any black level 5, or for 3 over Metal Greymon. And it does not matter what version of Metal Greymon. Alterous, X Antibody, Classic, doesn't matter. He has Raid, which allows you to redirect your attacks into your opponent's unsuspended Digimon. Really helpful if you have Piercing. As well, he picks up Reboot and 3000 DP until the end of your opponent's turn, making him really strong and threatening. And on top of that, anytime while he's on the field, if an attack is redirected, either by his own effective raid, blocker, whatever, doesn't matter, he will unsuspend. So, really good. I love this card. Next up, we run 1 copy of Black WarGreymon. Black WarGreymon is a really good Digimon. It's good for deletion, it's good for Tamer hate, and it also has the ability to unsuspend when one of your opponent's Digimon is deleted. We run 2 copies of WarGreymon X Antibody. just before that X antibody help, Digivolves for 1 over WarGreymon, 4 cost otherwise. Whenever a security card is removed from the stack on your opponent's side, you pick up a memory. So you break 2, you gain 2. You break 3, you gain 3. Doesn't matter, and it's not once per turn. However, once per turn during the end of your attack, if you have WarGreymon or X antibody under this Digimon, it does get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with DP less than or equal to this Digimon. And let me tell you, this Digimon gets pretty big. So, do not sleep on that end of attack ability. You can really put some damage on your opponent. Next up, we have one singular copy of Black WarGreymon X Antibody. Black WarGreymon X Antibody's got Reboot, and 2 effects that activate during your opponent's turn. During your opponent's turn once per turn, when one of your opponent's Digimon with the highest DP attacks, you may switch the target to this Digimon. So it's blocker without having blocker. And then, when an opponent's Digimon becomes unsuspended, or when a Digimon becomes unsuspended during your opponent's turn, if this Digimon has Black WarGreymon or X Antibody in its Digievolution source, you may delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest play cost. So unsuspending with Reboot will guarantee that you get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon. So pay attention to that. It's always a good way to clear your opponent's stronger Digimon if it's the only thing they have in play. Next up, we have one BT5 Omnimon. BT5 Omnimon, I think, is an excellent card to run in this deck. It's a 4 cost to go over a red or blue level 6. It has Blitz on Digivolving and the ability to unsuspend on Digivolving. So you get to do an extra attack if your memory goes over, or just an extra attack if you have the 4 memory to spend. On top of that, if an effect would remove him from play or delete him, you can remove a level 6 from your source to keep him from leaving. So he has that protection as well. He can stay on the field, he's very difficult to remove, and he puts more pressure on your opponent's security stack. Really good. I think it is always a staple in any Greymon deck. Finally, for our Digimon, I have one copy of Omnimon X Antibody from BT10. BT10 can go over a level 6 for 7, or for 3 an Omnimon, but only a Digimon specifically named Omnimon. If you have X Antibody in its traits, it does reduce the cost by 3. No, not by 3, by 2, making him 5 costs to go over, say, Metal Greymon X Antibody or Black WarGreymon X Antibody. When Digivolving, you get to return all of your opponent's Digimon with the highest level in play to the bottom of their deck in any order that you get to choose. And when Digivolving and attacking, once per turn, by placing X Antibody or level 6 cards from this Digimon's source to the bottom of your deck, you may reveal all the opponent's security cards, choose one, and then trash it. Then you have to place the rest back face down and shuffle them. So this card is really cool, and I'll get to it in the combo part of this video. So next up, we're going to talk about Tamers. I play one Cool Boy. Since we are running X Antibody cards, both Digimon and the option card, on play for 2 cost, which is really helpful, you get to look at the top 3 cards of your deck and add an X Antibody Digimon and option card to your hand. Then during your turn, if you would Digivolve your Digimon into the same level, you get to gain a memory and draw a card. Really helpful. We next play 3 copies of BT12 Tai. I've talked about it in the last video. It's really great. It gives you blocker plus 1000 DP when it's played or at the start of your turn. And then you gain the memory whenever you Digivolve one of your Digimon into Greymon or Omnimon. This is the Tai you are going to be playing the most. You almost always want to see this Tai. We then also run one copy of BT1 Tai. Sets your memory to 3, and all of your red Digimon with 4 source or more gain security attack +1. So you can really do some heavy damage to your opponent with your WarGreymons, especially if you've got piercing and the security attack +1 Greymon under it. So that's really neat. And Greymon BT12 plays this from your hand for free. Finally, we have Yuya Kuga. Again, I've talked about him in the previous Greymon video. If you have 2 memory, set it to 3. When you have a Digimon that digivolves into a Greymon, suspend this tamer to gain 2000. And if it wasn't digivolved into the Digimon of the same level, doesn't matter if it's X digivolved or not, you can suspend him to also prevent your Digimon from being affected by your opponent's option cards. Gives some really good protection there. So finally, we're down to our option cards. I have 2X antibody, really great. In your security, you gain a memory if your opponent flips it up in security check. And when attacking, this Digimon can digivolve into a card with the X antibody trait from your hand for its Digi-evolution cost. It's really great when you want to surprise your opponent with a stronger Digimon. And it doesn't matter if it's the same level if you're going up to the next level. Then we have 2 copies, red memory boost. Classic card, a staple. If you don't have any memory boosts, get some. On play, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, add 1 red Digimon to your hand, add the rest to the bottom of your deck. Then, as in a delay effect, which means that it goes to your field, or it stays on your field for the remainder of, until you use that delay, to gain 2 memory. So, trash it to gain 2 can get you out of a really tight spot. And last, but not least, 2 copies of everyone's favorite option card, Hades Force. So, the cool thing about Hades Force, it's 7 cost, making it cheaper than most of the deletion cards we have seen for red decks. It gets even cheaper if you have a Digimon with X antibody in its source. So if you have the option card X antibody, it becomes 5 to play. Then you get to choose any number of your opponent's Digimon and Tamers whose combined play cost equal that or are less than a Greymon on your field. So if you choose Black WarGreymon X Antibody, his play cost is 13. So that means you get to delete in any combination Digimon and Tamer cards that add up to 13. And then if you have an unsuspended Greymon in play, you may choose that Greymon to attack your opponent. So this is really great because if your memory spills over, so say you had 3 memory and you paid the 7 for Hades Force, your opponent now has 4 memory at the start of their turn, but you get to attack 1 more time before passing. It's like pseudo blitz. Really neat. I love it. One of the best deletion option cards I have seen, and it has Tamer hate. So now I do want to talk about some other cards you can consider if you do not like the cards that I have shown in this deck. First up, I would like to talk about BT5 Agumon. BT5 Agumon has pretty much the same effect that all the other Agumons have. On play, reveal the top 3 deck cards from your deck, add a Greymon and an Omnimon to your hand. The reason I'm not running it is that 3 search with no inheritable is a little less reliable. Next up for recommendations, we have the Virus Agumon from BT8. Same thing, 3 cost to play, search the top of your deck, but this time you get to dig 4. Add 1 Greymon and 1 Dragonkin to your hand. Really great. Adding 2 cards that you're going to more regularly hit is a lot better. The only problem is we're not running a lot of Digimon that are going to be able to go over this Agumon. We only have the 2 copies of Greymon that are the red-black, and Greymon X Antibody at 1. So 3 out of the 10 is just, it's not worth it. We're not going to see it consistently enough, and this is pretty much just a sitting target for your opponent otherwise. Next up, we can also run Greymon from BT5. He's really cool. he's 2 to Digivolve, but if he does Digivolve, if there's a Digimon with Agumon in its name in the Digievolution source, you gain a memory. So you could go Agumon, Agumon X Antibody, Greymon, and he'll pay 1. As long as Agumon is somewhere in there, he works. Then he also has the inherited to give a Greymon or Omnimon plus 2000 DP when they attack. Next, we have Greymon Virus. For 2 over a red or a black Digimon, he has the ability to give that Digimon that he's under blocker if you have a red Digimon in play on your opponent's turn. And this can count as himself. So if you have red-black Metal Greymon over him, he has blocker now. Again, the same issue with this deck is that there's just not enough black Digimon in the deck to go over him. Most of the other Digimon are red, with the exception of the Metal Greymon that plays red and black Tamers from hand. So it's just not consistent enough, so I don't recommend it. Next up, we have BT8 Metal Greymon. When Digivolving, Digivolve by 1, and one of your opponent's Digimon, then delete a Digimon with 3000 DP or less. So this can make it possible to remove Digimon on your opponent's field. De-Digivolving 1 can kind of get you out of tight spots too, maybe give you the ability to attack into a Digimon you wouldn't otherwise be able to attack. My problem here is that he's 4-cost, which makes him really expensive. And with this deck, you want to keep your memory costs low so you can just slam into your opponent without, giving up too much resource. But he does have the ability that if he's under a Dragonkin or Machine, that you can attack an unsuspended Digimon. This doesn't help as much unless you are in Metal Greymon, X Antibody, or Black WarGreymon, because regular WarGreymon has Raid. So I don't think this will come up too often, so I don't run it. We also have Metal Greymon X Antibody from BT11. Again, the problem with him, he's 4-cost, 1 to play, or 1 to Digivolve over a Metal Greymon in specific. I do like free Digivolution more, but his effect is that he cannot be de-Digivolved, he can't lose DP, and if he goes over Metal Greymon or you have X Antibody in your source, he gets to delete a Digimon of 6000 DP or less, which means he can hit some of your opponent's level 5s, all of their champions, and all of their rookies. So that can be good. And on top of that, during your opponent's turn, when he unsuspends, or if any Digimon unsuspends during your opponent's turn, and he is under a Greymon or Omnimon, you get to trash the top card of your opponent's security. So it can do pressure. I just like the security attack +1 plus 3000 DP a little bit more. Another suggestion we have is WarGreymon from BT1. He's 3-cost to play. On Digievolution, he gains security attack +1, and when he attacks, he does not trigger options when he checks them. So he's got protection from options and extra damage. But the real problem, though, he's weak. 11k is just a little too weak for my liking at this point. He was fantastic back in the day. I love him, but he deserves his retirement now. But if you want to run him, run him. I won't stop you. That protection effect is great, and if you can build up enough effects to just, make up for that weaker DP, do it. This is a wonderful game where you get to experiment and build your decks your way. So my next suggestion, Gaiomon. If you're not a fan of Metal Greymon X Antibody in the deck, or Black War Greymon X Antibody in this deck, you can go with Gaiomon, goes over Black War for 2. Otherwise, he's 5 to play over a red or black. His name is Greymon, so you can search him. He gets security attack +1, reboot, de-Digievolution, and blitz if he is under a black or if he's over a black and or red Digimon, respectively. Blitz means that he gets to attack immediately, so if you Digivolve him over an unsuspended Digimon and your memory goes over to your opponents, he can still hit. And because this deck is so aggressive, he is a good card to consider. Again, I don't run him. We then finally have one more suggestion as far as Digimon go, Omnimon Mercy Mode. Digivolves over any Omnimon for 3, or otherwise it is 6 for a red, blue, yellow, or green. When he digivolves for each card with Mega in its traits under him, you get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon. That's just free deletion. On average, you should expect to have at least 2 Megas under him, so that's 2 Digimon to delete. On a good day, if you're still running the base Omnimon, that's 3 deletions. Just free. Then you get to take 10 cards from your opponent's trash and put them to the bottom. This is really good for the Beelzemon matchup, as well as the Chaos Gallantmon matchup. I just prefer Omnimon X Antibody because there's a pressure move you can do with him. But this is really good if you're really worried about the Beelzemon and Gallantmon matchups. And finally, at the start of your turn, you do have to trash the top card, which is him. And if you do get to take the top card of your opponent's security stack. So he will revert to whatever the Mega under him is. So if that's Blitz Omnimon, it'll go back to Blitz Omnimon. If it's Metal Greymon, it'll go back to WarGreymon. Or Black WarGreymon, Gaiamon, whatever it is that you digivolved him over. So it does put him back in a slightly weaker form, but he's still good for that strong Hail Mary play, especially if you are really scared of purple decks. So next card, we are now on to Tamer recommendation. I only have one here, Nokia. Nokia is a pretty classic Greymon staple. I just didn't have room to run her, otherwise I would have ran her at 1 copy. Plays an Agumon for free when you play her. And whenever you digivolve, she gets to reduce the play cost of Greymons by 1. Combined with Tai, you can pick up quite a bit of memory. So then I have some tamers to suggest. First tamer to suggest is win rate 60%. If you have a tamer in play, ignore the color requirement. The next time one of your Digimon digivolves this turn, you may trash 1 Digimon card in your hand of the same color as the Digimon to reduce the memory cost by 4. Almost all of your Digimon are 4 cost at your Mega level, so this can make them free. It does make Gaiamon 1, and it makes Omnimon free, and, well, you know. Then we've got Digital Translator. Digital Translator, same thing. If you have a tamer in play, you don't have to meet the color requirement. You get to choose one of your level 6 Digimon and switch it into a new level 6 Digimon. So if you have WarGreymon in play, you can digivolve that into Black WarGreymon. Fun fact, it also triggers Yuya's effects, because you're digivolving a level 6 over a level 6. But this only works for level 6s. Not level 7s, not anything below level 6. It's still a neat way to kind of get some cheeky moves on your opponent. Then we have Crimson Blaze. Crimson Blaze is a 6-cost deletion effect. You can reduce the memory cost of this card in your hand by 1 for each Digimon your opponent has in play. And you get to delete all of your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 DP or less, and they cannot play any Digimon by card effect until the end of their next turn. So this does actually do a lot of damage to the Gallantmon and Beelzemon matchups. So this could be a really good card to consider. The last card I would like to consider is Trident Gaia. Trident Gaia deletes one of your opponent's Digimon with the highest DP, and if that Digimon was 13,000 or more, you get to trash the tap card of their security. One of the problems with Hades Force is while it's really good tamer hate, it's not really good at deleting your opponent's bigger Digimon. I would not recommend this card if you are running like Omnimon Merciful Mode, which just gets to outright delete something. And even Omnimon X Antibody also gets to just remove something for the heck of it. So it's not like the most important card in this whole recommendation, but it could be fun to tech in at some point. So next we're going to talk about some combo plays that we can do. The first combo play I want to talk about actually has to do with Metal Greymon. Metal Greymon can digivolve into Metal Greymon Alterous Mode. Alterous Mode, because its name is considered just pure Metal Greymon due to its effect, can digivolve into Metal Greymon X Antibody. You just digivolved 3 times on a level 5 for free and got multiple effects, including the ability to protect itself from deletion by effect, security attack +1, and 3000 DP. You also now have piercing. You can then take this a step further by digivolving into WarGreymon. WarGreymon now with piercing plus security attack +1 plus 3000 DP from Metal Greymon, then picks up his own 3000 DP. So that's an extra 6000 DP that you are swinging into your opponent using the raid effect that will then take minimal 2 security off of. So you hit your opponent's Digimon, they lose 2 security, he unsuspends, and then he gets to do it again. It's crazy. We can take that a step further, though, with this next part. So we have our unsuspended WarGreymon. We got X antibody. You can swing into your opponent, deal 2 damage. He unsuspends because you should be always using raid. You attack your opponent's security this time. Or their Digimon. He can only unsuspend once, though, so raid isn't that important the second move unless you really have a problematic Digimon to remove. So you then pay your 4. He then digivolves into Omnimon. Omnimon unsuspends. You use the Blitz effect to attack. Then you use the effect of X antibody, which allows you to digivolve a Digimon that's attacking into its X antibody form. You're now digivolving into Omnimon X antibody. Omnimon X antibody is going to take an extra security from your opponent's stack, as well as removing all of their Digimon with the I don't know these effects as well, with the highest levels. So if they got a bunch of level 6s, those level 6s are gone. So you remove their Digimon, you get to check their security, remove a problematic card from that, and you're still dealing 2 damage. Especially off of that one play. It's crazy. This has actually won me quite a few games, because there's no way to stop Omnimon. But that is it for this deck tech video. Tell me what you think about the deck build. If there's anything I can change, if there's anything you would play differently, let me know in the comments. Or if you just really like it, tell me. These videos are fun. Don't forget to check out our sponsors at the bottom of the description below. Again, promo code PROSCREEN saves you 10% at both of them. And also check out our Patreon. You can donate there, and it helps me continue making Digimon videos as well as streams and video game content. Alright, guys. Until next time.